While we got started, another one of our tribal members pulled up, and right here is Moses Jumper Jr. from the Big Cypress Reservation, but I think he was originally raised on the Hollywood Reservation, and I think he just recently retired, right, from Reservation. But big shot, man. Or his big, well, I call him big. That's I know about that, but Moses Jumper Jr. Cattle owner. When he was a youth, he was probably one of our athletic Seminoles. But today, he does a lot of our reenactments of our Seminole Wars. He'll dress up in his regalia, ride his horse, and carry the rifle and do reenactments. But I asked him to be here today too, and I'm glad he made it.
Thank you for coming. Nice to meet you.
And not only that, he's one of his hobbies is poetry. And man, every time I hear him say one, I just think it's it's outstanding. I asked him if we could bring one. I don't know if he did or not.
Yeah. Would you be willing to share one?
So I like for y'all to hear one of his
titled Indian Cowboy Dreams. And it's a tribute, I guess, to all those guys that I remember that, especially the ones in Big Cypress, the guys that I remember who were the cowboys then, and I've got a couple that come from this area also that I included in this point. But it goes like this. It says, as a young boy, I stood in awe as I watched these rugged men of old. They were dark with jet black hair, topped with old Stetson hats and faces that were bold. Their jeans were well worn, as were the faded long-sleeve shirts they wore with pride. The boots, the spurs, they had it all, even to the horses they would ride. I knew these men before I'd heard of Gene or Roy and Wayne. I didn't know these movie cowboys stood for a way of life that would cause our people so much pain. The Indian cowboy I knew were for real, and something told me that's what I wanted to be. Big Morgan Smith cracking the whip, and riding along was old Samson Dixie. These were the days of the big roundups, the family feast, and the long cattle run. There were no one-day shows or being late, and we stayed till the work was done. I would spend the nights at the Morgan's camp, lying under the old tin roof while having my Indian cowboy dreams, awakening to the sound of the squeaky old army saddles and feeling the coolness of the morning fog as the men would have that important coffee and cream. I loved it all, and for a boy of 9, it was all I wanted to be. The wet season, the hanging moss, the Big Cypress Swamp. It was a place where a young boy could really be free. The names are etched in my mind of these Indian cowboys of yesteryear. Charlie Miko, Naha Tiger, Josiah Johns, true cattlemen who knew no fear. Braided bullwhips, Mexican spurs, and high in the deep-seated saddle they sat. These were real men from the tip of their boots to the top of their Tom Mix hat. I would play in the old red barn and wait as the bullets in my toy gun I would load. I would listen, and from far off I could hear the horses' hooves as they walked on the Shell Rock Road. These men stood for a way of life that I'm sure once again we would all like to see. Good cow dogs, cracker cattle, a good horse, and the glades where a man could really be free. These men were my heroes, and their names you won't hear on TV. But to those of us who remember their names will always be a part of our history. And as long as there's a horse to ride, a steer to rope, and a bunch of good dogs that work as a team, I'll remember back to those days when as a boy I slept under the old tin roof as these men rode tall in my Indian cowboy dreams.